Hello, everyone, and welcome to our 14th Democracy Talk. This is our second to last Democracy Talk of the year. I can't believe the year has gone by so quickly. And for our 14th talk, we're very happy to welcome Hilmi Tekoglu of SOLIDAR Foundation. Today, Hilmi will be discussing with us about promoting democratic participation and engagement by talking about the AKA project. AKA stands for Awareness, Knowledge, and Action. And it's a 2-year project which has been coordinated by the SOLIDAR Foundation and carried out in a consortium of 8 partners across Europe. So before speaking any more about the project, I'll let Hilmi go ahead and introduce himself and everything that he'll be talking about today. Welcome, Hilmi.
Thank you very much, Vanina, for the very nice introduction. And hello, everyone. And thank you very much for this opportunity to be able to speak about the project that we've been implementing for 2 years. And at the end of this month, actually, the project will be finalized. So, hello again. My name is Hilmi Tekoglu. I'm working as a civic space policy officer at Solidar, and my work mainly involves monitoring policy development related to shrinking civic space, democratic participation, and including advocacy. Just a bit on maybe for those who are interested to know about Solidar, and SOLIDAR Foundation is a European network of civil society organizations with a global reach, working to advance social justice through just transition in Europe and worldwide. So what we do as Solidar is to voice the concerns of our members and partners to the EU and international institutions across the 3 main policy areas that are social affairs, international cooperation, and lifelong learning. So as Vanina mentioned, I will share my screen to talk about the Active Citizenship Project, ACA project. So for that, I will share some slides with you. I hope everybody can view my screen now.
Yes.
Yeah, great, thank you. So to start with, I'm going to talk about the Active Citizenship Project that is actually funded by a SERVE program of the European Commission that ran over the course of 2 years, starting from 2022 and ending 2024. So mainly the project aimed to promote the democratic participation and engagement at the EU level, young citizens with vulnerable backgrounds in 8 countries through global citizenship education based activities implemented in community centers. I talked about community centers, but I will later explain what we actually try to achieve at community centers. So the project implemented in 8 countries that are Spain, Portugal, Croatia, France, Belgium, Italy, Greece, and Croatia, if I corrected all of them, counted all of them. So in these 8 different countries with different local realities, each partner tried to tackle different structural challenge in a society they live in while aiming to achieve results for common methodology and addressing mainly the same target group. So to address these structural challenges, we used global citizenship methodologies and activities in community centers to empower youth and bridge the gap between their local realities and democratic processes. So for that, at the beginning of the project, for all partners to have common definition of global citizenship education and common approach at the beginning of the project is to organize this initial training of trainers that actually, and we want to ensure common understanding of this methodology and approach. So what does global citizenship education means to us? So it can be defined in different ways, but in SOLIDAR Foundation, we use the definition of global citizenship education as political education on a global scale, which prepares learners to develop a sense of belonging to the global community and to their society, to get involved and to take active role in and the society, to contribute a peaceful, just world in which ecological resources are preserved. And when it comes to the common approach, we use the GCE as an active pedagogical approach with co-creation in its core, inviting learners and educators to practice its principles. So, following the initial trainings at the beginning of the project, partners established community centers. What do we mean by community center is to actually have these meeting spaces, safe spaces, learning spaces that is actually animated by value-driven communities. It's a space in which we aim for participants to feel welcomed and allowing them to express themselves and participate in the activities freely. So these community centers were established established in 8 different countries by our partners, included also collaboration with other local organizations in different countries, in these 8 different countries, such as youth centers in Belgium and Germany, educational centers in Spain and France, social and cultural centers in Greece, Croatia, and Italy, and migrant centers in Portugal that our project partners actually cooperate regularly with, and where young people from vulnerable backgrounds feel safe to take collective action or join the activities actively. So the community centers, as I mentioned, based on initial training for trainers that involved project managers, educators, and young participants, each project partner that supported the activities of a community center. And each center was co-led by the youth and the project partners, addressing minimum 1 structural challenges and adopting the methodologies that actually fit to address these challenges, the methodologies that found most suitable. So in these community centers, our project partners aim to raise awareness of different issues. Just to name a few, understanding diversity, the social impact of the ecological transition, promoting tolerance, intergenerational solidarity, active citizenship, climate justice, sustainable economic models, gender equality, just to name a few. So when it comes to the activities run by each center, each partners to start with adopted of a safety contract and ensured establishment of a safety team. This was crucially important to create safe space for open dialogue and for actually allowing participants to express their views freely. These activities also involved introduction to contextualize the activities for participants. This includes ensuring common understanding of the methodologies, approaches, and activities. When it comes to implementation of the identified methodologies, this also included sufficient time for participants to understand the methodologies as well. So the last activity of each community center was to have dialogue with local level policymakers. So each partner organized activities with local level policymakers and participants to have a dialogue together to exchange on the findings that actually for participants to bring to the attention of the local level policymakers. So this specific activity aim to encourage and empower participants to exchange their views, to learn from each other, also from the policymakers as well. Now that we talk about the project, also I like to talk about the impact of this project a little bit as well, is that so we had 8 project partners in this project that implemented 24 different activities where we involved more than 500 young people directly in these activities along with educators. So we also talked about dialogue with policymakers. So we reached out to more than 12 different policymakers in 8 different countries. And when we talk about the project, communication activities plays a crucial role. So our comms activities reach beyond 5,000 impressions. You may say impressions, likes, and follows, and so on and so forth. Most importantly, with this project, we wanted to have a tool to improve existing practices among our membership and support other organizations who want to start using global citizenship education methodologies with a focus on learners with vulnerable backgrounds. On SOLIDAR level, SOLIDAR Foundation level, we would like this tool also to contribute to our ongoing work. This includes policy papers, good practices, campaigns, and an alliance of the civil society organizations joining forces to promote global citizenship education at all levels. I want to open the floor for questions. Now I talk about the project, and second part of my intervention will be talk about the output of this project, which is the booklet. But I'd like to open the floor and see if there's any questions from the participants so far. If not, I can continue the presentation. Any questions? Yorgos.
Yes, thank you very much, Hilmi, for this first part of the presentation. Could you tell us what is the underpinning, the theoretical value underpinning for each center? Is it the national context of institutions? Is it a liberal democracy project? Is it a rule of law? What exactly democratic engagement means in this case?
Thank you very much, Yorgos, for your question. For me, so this project, what we aim is to try different methodologies in 8 different countries, specifically focusing on the youth with vulnerable backgrounds. So it was more on the fact that to raise awareness of this youth, mainly this youth, to be aware of their social environment, political context in their realities, to feel connected to these realities, to take action by introducing different methodologies that used by the partners for them to vision what the democratic life it should be, to feel part of it, and by identifying these problems, how could they actually find solution to this? Not only theoretically speaking, but also through these methodologies implemented to implement practically by taking actions. And also to strengthen this a bit more, to bring them together with local level policymakers to present these findings. So this was the main idea of this project in terms of capacity building, raising awareness or strengthening the sense of belonging to a community, and to be part of it, to be part of the active citizens and to contribute to the society.
In the context of each individual community.
Exactly.
Yes. Thank you.
Most welcome. Diana, please.
Yes, thank you very much for your presentation so far. I was thinking more about maybe the specific competencies that young people gain when they learn about global citizenship education. Maybe you can give some examples on this.
So when we talk about youth with vulnerable background, so there's specific obstacle that rise, that they don't feel part of a community, they don't, sometimes language barriers, there is this mistrust towards the community they live in, or the existing processes or local policymakers and so on and so forth. So in order to make them feel trusted, we collaborated with civil society organizations that have connections with them. Mm. And coming back to your question, so through them, we involve them into these workshops where we talked about actually what are the existing issues in their societies that should be addressed, and how could they actually be part of this problem. by actively involving, by actively taking steps to these problems. So maybe one of the examples I could give is, if I remember correctly, one of the activities we implemented in very small town, Ravenna in Italy, where we had young participants, where Ravenna was a very extremely impacted by the floods. So there was existing problem that actually affects everybody. But, you know, in these cases, usually youth, it's not the first to go with. So the youth could actually seeing this problem and would like to take an action. And our partners, first, theoretically speaking, talked about what is just transition, what are climate changes, and what could we do, theoretically speaking. And then took these participants to explore what happened to the city, what's the differences, what's the urbanization of the part of the city, what are the green areas in the city, what happened throughout the history, and what could be done by showing them what are the reasons to climate changes, maybe for the floods and so on and so forth. And when they come back, they ask to develop solutions to these problems. So here we see not only theoretically speaking, that they had been in those affected areas to observe, to understand the cause of the problem and also come up with the solutions. When they come up with the solutions, our partners brought them together with local level policymakers because it's normally speaking, it's locals, ideally speaking, it's local levels policymakers who would implement this challenges. So by bringing them together with policymakers, they had the opportunity to raise these issues from their point of view and how actually they could contribute to this issue that has an impact on everybody, regardless their background, where they come from, or their capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the main idea of, in terms of encouraging them taking active role in the society they live in, if that answers your question.
Yes, and I think it's very interesting because when I understand it right, what you do with your project, you confront young people with the problematic situation they're living in. And based on this confrontation, they start to connect more to the issue and then develop solutions out of it. So, yeah.
No, indeed. I wouldn't say not necessarily problematic, but problematic situation, but also, being an active citizen for every citizen needs to be active in order to if we live in a democratic society, we want everybody to be active and contributing to this society. Mm-hmm. So, of course, everybody comes with different backgrounds and so on, but we live in one society. That's why with this project, we wanted to show this by implementing these methodologies that we may come from a different backgrounds and different understanding, but whatever the problem out there, it has different effects on all of us. Mm. So that's why it's very important to become active in the society we live to be able to address these challenges.
Okay, thank you.
No, thank you very much. Any other questions? If not, I can continue with our Yorgos, please.
So, to define agency, right? I mean, we have a problem with everybody in democracies, it seems nowadays, that are not very active. So even special groups are even perhaps they have a tendency to be less active because they don't feel they belong fully or they're accepted by the society. So you work with them that may make them overtake the regular, let's say, people of a community, right, in terms of agency. I don't know if we can keep that in mind and how that will influence their status. But it is important to keep in mind the agency, as Karsten would say, or all of us from the Democrat Project, the agency in terms of knowledge, judgment, and taking your fate in your own hands, let's say, by participating actively. And that's what you want to do, right, for these people to be actively engaged in their communities.
Indeed. Indeed. I mean, just to clarify, we as SOLIDAR Foundation we don't directly work in the field. We work more European level, but our partners and member organizations, they are the ones working in the field and feeding us with this information. If that's clear. Yeah?
But you have in your rules that agency is something that these people should get, right? To be able to influence
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed. Okay, maybe I can continue to talk about a bit on the booklet that we come out after this activity is implemented in 8 different countries. So the ACA booklets, the methodologies for fostering social action and democratic engagement. So why did we create this booklet? For us, this booklet is practical resource to help educators and practitioners to promote transformative learning by providing accessible, effective methodologies for them to empower people, particularly youth, in times of growing inequalities and democratic disengagement. When we look at the key themes of this booklet, we took global citizenship education as a base, and we took it further to focus on social action, democratic participation, and addressing structural discrimination, as I mentioned earlier. So by tackling these themes, we aim to help young people to develop these competencies, the skills to actively participate in their society and addressing these challenges like inequality, climate change, and social exclusion. When it comes to the methodologies and tools for engaging an inclusive space, the methodologies used through the project focuses on transformative learning and non-formal education that were found engaging and inclusive, also allowing participants to actively co-create, empowering them to think critically and to take action in their communities, as I was mentioning earlier. So for this, interactive tools, methodologies, concepts such as artivism, World Cafe, urban mobility, and accessibility, just to name few, and the more could be found in our booklets, was used. So when we gathered all this input from the 8 countries and implemented activities, we realized that there were common patterns and strengths that help creating engaging, inclusive, and inclusive learning environment for participants that we thought it should have place in this booklet. And what those strengths that we come up with is co-creation and participants' engagement. I know it's self-explanatory, but it was very important for us that involving participants in designing activities and selecting topics help actually to fostering ownership and relevance to the challenges that they actually face. Secondly, it was a safe and inclusive environment. It was crucial for our partners to establish a supportive space where participants feel welcome, comfortable, and comfortable enough to share their experience and ideas, which was the point of the workshops that we tried to actually implement. We implemented. And third one is peer learning and mentorship. I mean, encouraging participants to learn from each other and fostering leadership skills through peer mentorship found to be successful as well. Action-oriented pedagogical approaches. This is particularly found successful that enabling participants to apply practical tools, concepts, like I was mentioning earlier, artivism is one of them, to the issues they identified and help them to develop actionable solutions. Common understanding of complex concepts. When we talk about concepts like ecological transition, social justice, intergenerational solidarity, it's it sounds nice, but when it comes to definition of it, you may find yourself a bit lost. What does this mean? So it was important for us to ensure sufficient time is provided so the participants develop a common understanding around these concepts. So this found particularly effective when we adapt these concepts to the local context. And lastly, follow-up and evaluation. So it was found very important that establishing a long-term follow-up mechanism to measure the impact and to improve further learning experience was important, not on the project lifespan, but to continuously, regularly being in touch with the youth to continuously evaluate and follow up their understanding of this concept and their encouragement to take action in the society they live. Lastly, with this booklet, we come up with 6 progressive steps for global citizenship education implementation. So based on the diverse methodologies implemented in different contexts, addressing various issues and topics, we have developed the following steps, hoping that these steps can be applied by practitioners and educators across various contexts for impactful outcomes. And step 1 goes with the needs assessment. So conducting surveys, interviews to understand your participants' needs and to help tailoring the workshop content accordingly. For us, it was the starting point to be able to organize your workshop, tailored workshops based on their needs. So second step is background and contextual research. This involves researching the local community or the area and understandings and political context to make the activities relevant and relatable to the participants and their real world experiences. When it comes to the third step, comprehensive educators training, like we did at the beginning of the project, before organizing the workshops, it is crucial to equip educators with the skills, tools, and the methodologies so they can actually engage with participants in an effective way. Step 4, it comes with the workshop structure that is we recommended in this booklet to create a structured but flexible framework that promotes in your workshop safety, co-creation, direct engagement, ensuring common understanding of complex issues or terms, and so on and so forth. When it comes to step 5, follow-up and sustainability, we realize that creating a peer learning networks that includes participants, educators, and other relevant individuals, and also to organize regular meetings to ensure long-term engagement, continuous learning, and lasting impact of the activities found also very crucial. And step 6 is more on the quality assurance side to evaluate your activities, receiving feedback from the participants, making necessary adjustments to your work based on the input received. I will stop my presentation here, and thank you very much all for your attention. I will now open the floor again for the questions.
Thank you so much, Hilmi. And as Hilmi said, we'll open the floor for questions. I was hoping that I could possibly ask the first question, if that's okay with everyone. So my question, and probably could have been asked in the first part of the presentation, but I figured it would be okay to save it since other people had questions. I wanted to know a bit more about how do you see the principles of global citizenship education being applied in contexts where structural discrimination is quite deeply entrenched, which is a bit more of a newer concept in terms of a lot of migration going on in Europe. And I don't know if you have any more specific examples or challenges that you could share that you have encountered during the project as well.
Thank you very much, Vanina, for this question. Yes, I think applying global citizenship education in context of rooted structural discrimination is challenging, but at the same time is incredibly rewarding. And one of the biggest difficulties shared by our project partners was actually reaching out to marginalized groups, learners, individuals, and to their communities. And most importantly, to gain their trust. So structural discrimination often creates this mistrust towards the society they live in, and or towards the existing systems or the formal institutions. So it creates this feeling that they left out or feeling excluded or overlooked. So I think here it's very fair to say that where civil society organizations play a critical role, unlike many formal institutions, civil society organizations have established connection with these communities, understand their needs, and help to build bridges and open doors to more meaningful and active engagement. Just to give an maybe example from the project that we implemented in Croatia, our project partners worked with young people from migrant communities, and they had difficulties reaching out to them to invite them to these workshops. So they identified challenges to establish even the first contacts and to involve this youth in the activities. So in order to remove this obstacle, they use their personal contacts or collaborated with other youth centers that actually directly work with migrant communities, and started explain what they want to do and how would actually be benefits of them. So they with establishing also with this safe space in time, they built their trust and kept them involved in the activities. If I am to give another instance, another example, we also face challenges engaging like minority groups in other countries who had experienced systematic exclusion. And through this, what was good about these interactive workshops, there were needs identified, and by talking about their needs, they felt that they have a say in this because it was speaking to them, these challenges they face on a daily basis. So it also helped them through these workshops to develop trust to these people, also the society they live in. But like I said, here's civil society organizations' work is very crucial because it's civil society organizations that actually has hands-on experience by working with this migrant communities or vulnerable groups or people with the vulnerable backgrounds. So that could actually help us to co-create these learning activities, let's say. You may ask if you can get over this structural discrimination over a project implementation period. Of course not, but this is why it's also very important that we continue our efforts to organize such workshops, such activities by involving marginalized communities, not from a top-down, but bottom-up approach, I'd say, if I answered your question.
Yeah, you did. I had a quick follow-up question. How did you select in the different countries what civil society organizations to work with? I don't know if there was a selection process or how you went about that.
So when I talked about partners, project partners, and they're also our project, our member organizations. So when we draft this project application, we gather everyone together and ask, what are the needs? So this is how we identify the needs in 8 different countries by collaborating with our partners, with our member organization. And then we draft it in the project proposal based on this input we receive our member organizations.
Okay. Thank you so much, Hilmi. I see
No.
as a question as well.
Yes, I was thinking about this outreach topic you mentioned, that many institutions, formal education institutions, have difficulties to reach those marginalized adults. And I was thinking about, do you have any general recommendations? What can institutions do in order to reach those people that have difficult backgrounds and are normally not engaging in education institutions, informal ones, etc.?
No, thank you very much, Diana. This is very important questions. And in our work in SOLIDAR Foundation, we always, advocate for that there is civil society organizations working at European level, national level, local level, who, which they have hands-on experience, as I was talking, mentioning before, that they know the need of these societies. They work in the field, they have hands-on experience, they do gather this data. So for the institutions, what we try to achieve is to establish structural civil dialogue with civil society organizations, meaning to systematize this collaboration between the institutions. You may say to have saying in the public policy making, or to be equal partners in the public policy making, not only, involving civil society organizations by sending online consultations. It's welcome, but we would like to have systematic dialogue. We would like to be part of public policy making from the beginning, from agenda setting, budget matters, and also sharing this data that we collect through our members, the needs, the challenges that exist. So for us, in that regard, it's very important to actually establish structured civil dialogue with the institutions to be able to raise these concerns.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Does anyone else have any other questions? If not, I might have one more. Please just raise your hand or you can start speaking. Go ahead, Georgios.
Okay, if I overdo it, you let me know. Do you connect to the formal education systems at all, let's say schools, etc., or this is a civil society approach? And because we, with Democrat, we're trying to rethink in a way education for democracy in the broader school context. But in your case, it's a society initiative, right?
I would say it's a broader context as well, not only school curricula, but we do have partners that actually work in education sector that we collaborate with. But as you said, for us, it's broader. It's not only formal education, it's also non-formal education, informal education, and digital education. It also includes that. So
Go ahead, Carmen.
Hi, thank you very much, Hilmi, for the presentation. Very interesting what you are doing. Actually, I was thinking, I don't know, I was thinking that unfortunately, well, the reality is that in our society there are civil society organizations that are not really democratic. They are not really a good example. Okay, and I was just wondering if how do you face this kind of possibility that there are these kind of organizations? have you encountered any of these NGOs that wanted to approach you or something, or have you had any problem? Or I don't know. I was just curious because I know that, for example, in Spain, we have a few of these yes, organizations that are supported by specific parties, and I'm sure you know what what I'm
Yeah,
talking about.
yeah, I do. I do. I do. Thank you very much, Carmen, for this question, and very nice to meet you. I've heard a lot about you from my colleagues. Um, no, in Solidar Foundation, we have our values, we have our visions, and we consider ourselves progressive, and we collaborate with progressive, like-minded allies, and we don't give a green light anyone beyond that goes beyond these terms and values and understanding. So there is no green light from our organization to any organizations, let's say, that doesn't, it doesn't have to be in the same like-minded setting, but at least to have something in common, the values and the common understanding and so on and so forth. And for Solidar Foundation, it's a red line, I must say.
Thank you. Yeah, I totally agree, but is it democratic? That is the question.
Yeah, that's I think opens another
no,
session to talk about, indeed.
Yes, I totally agree with your point of view, and I totally understand why you do it. And I think that in our organization, probably we would react in the same way. But of course, and also when you are so critic with yourself and with things, it makes you wonder if what you are doing is a good approach or not. Even
Indeed.
that I think it is the only approach. If you want to advance, that is. But anyway, thank you very much.
No,
I'm
no.
only teasing.
No, I also understand where you come from, because considering the political landscape right now and what's going on EU level, it's very considering, because then the allies that you actually collaborate, it's getting less and less, and then your spectrum needs to be consider other, partners that is actually closer to you. So there's your answers. I think this change is very much on the political landscape, what's the political reality, and it's changeable regarding the political priorities, political landscape, what we need to focus on in the next mandate, for example. So I think there's no specific one answer to this, I must say.
It's good to have discussions like this on topics that are often complicated or harder to discuss. So it's good to see that happening here on the talks. I think we're basically running out of time now. So unless someone might have another pressing question, I think we'll close out. And if anyone does have questions, you can always ask those on the blogs that are posted on our Agora. We have one after each of the democracy talks, usually the next week or the week after. So I wanted to just say thank you so much, Hilmi, and thank you to Solidar for this project and for you for presenting this project. And thank you to everyone here for a great and lively discussion. Next week on December 11th, we'll have our 15th. Sorry, the week after. Sorry about that. In 2 weeks, on December 11th, we'll have our 15th Democracy Talk at 3 p.m., which is the last one for the year. So it's a little bit of a season's greetings talk. And we'll be speaking with a representative from the University of Helsinki. So you can stay tuned for updates about that talk in the coming week. And Hilmi, if you would like to join in the conversation, you're always free and welcome to join as well. And you can share it in your network. So thank you to everyone here. Thank you, Hilmi, for the great presentation. And we look forward to seeing everyone again soon.
Thank you very, very much for this opportunity, and I'll be happy to join the following democracy talks. We need to
It will
talk.
be also Santa Claus, right? From
Yeah,
Yes.
we need to. Yeah,
Diana will wear a Santa hat.
we need to, as you said, Vanina, we need to continue these talks. We need to widen our space. We need to take actions to protect our space. So it's really good that you actually organizing this democracy talks just to understand not on European level, but what's also happening in national, local level. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you too. Okay, bye everyone.
Bye, everyone.